Hey y'all, I'm Tracy. Welcome to Just Dig It Farms. Today I want to share with y'all how we prep our beds organically without tilling and without using any kind of chemicals. It's only a few weeks away and we'll be able to start planting here in central Alabama, and we are full force in preparing the garden beds. So y'all come hang out with me today in the garden as we continue to prepare our garden beds, plant some fruit trees, and hopefully plant some potatoes today.
I sing because I'm happy. Oh yes, I sing because I am free. Oh, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Me and Tracy's out here today in the potager garden. Springtime. The bees are getting all cranked up over there. I've been having a few buzz me. But this is go time, baby. Y'all come along with us as we get this dirt ready. We're gonna grow some stuff out here in the potager. Just dig it.
We do not spray chemicals, Roundup, herbicide, anything like that on our garden beds here in the potager garden because we're growing our food here. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to grow our own food, is to get away from all of the chemicals that our food is sprayed with. So we don't use chemicals and we practice no-till. And the reason we practice no-till is because we're working all year long to build healthy soil in these beds. We're cover cropping, we're adding mulch, we're adding compost. We're always working on building healthy soil. And I believe that when you till the soil all the time, every season, a couple of times a year, then you're killing all of that microbial life that you've been working on building that you want in your soil. And it also, after doing it prolonged over and over and over, it causes your soil to have like a compacted, hard pan. And I don't want that. I want to have really good, healthy soil in my garden. So we practice no-till. So the big question in no-till and chemical-free gardening, how do you take care of the weeds? How do you work in a cover crop that you've been growing all winter? Because most of the time people just till that cover crop in. So the question is, how are we working in the cover crop? How are we maintaining these weeds without tilling and without spraying chemicals? This past fall and winter, we sowed all of the potager beds in winter rye, a brassica mix, chickpeas, Austrian winter peas. We sowed all of the beds thick in cover crop. What cover crops does for your soil is it adds nitrogen, nutrients to your soil. It helps with weed control so that, you know, all of those winter and early spring weeds are suffocated out by cover crops. It just creates a living mulch on your beds, so that helps to protect your soil. There's so many wonderful benefits to cover crop in your beds when they're not being used to grow your food. So all of our potager beds have had cover crops growing in them all fall and winter. And now it's time to kill off those cover crops and start preparing the beds to plant. Today's March the 2nd. Our last frost date is March 17th. So we should be safe to start planting in the next 3 weeks for sure. We started back in late January, early February, laying weed tarps over our beds, over the cover crops. Each year I've been ordering these awesome weed tarps from Haas Tools. They're really thick, good quality black weed tarps, and they're a little expensive when you've got a lot of area to cover and you need to buy a lot of them. So we've just been adding a few each year, and this year I actually ended up buying 3 of them. And next year I'll need to probably buy 1 more, and I should have enough to cover all of my beds at the same time. The weed tarps are definitely an investment, but after we finish using them, we fold them up and put them in storage containers and put them away and store them. So they really should last us a long time because we're taking good care of them. For the weed tarps to work effectively, I've found they need to be on the beds at least 4 weeks. They work quicker when you have a lot of sunshine and heat. That helps to kill off the cover crops and weeds quicker. But 4 weeks is a pretty good amount of time for the weed tarps to be on the beds. After we take the weed tarps off, then instead of tilling, we come in with a wheel hoe or a broad fork, and we just very gently work those cover crops into the soil a little bit. I found that the broad fork works really well if you have a clay, more compact soil. It helps to aerate that soil and helps to work those cover crops into that clay soil. We have super sandy soil. We've worked years on building up the soil in these potager beds, and now we have a beautiful, rich, black, sandy, loamy soil here. So we've found that the wheel hoe works better than the broad fork for our beds. After we use the wheel hoe and we work those cover crops into the soil a little bit, then we come back and create our rows that we're going to be planting in. Once we create the rows, then we add a layer of compost to those rows. Really good compost. So I've bought some in from a company called Bubba's, and they call their compost super soil. And it's really good stuff, but it's expensive. So I bought in a little bit of that. We work on making our own compost here on the farm with kitchen scraps, with garden debris, with goat poop and pee and hay, with chicken litter from the chicken coop and the chicken pen. In the past, I've done worm composting, and I've got a really cool worm bin made from an old bathtub over by the garden shed. And this year, I'm going to purchase some more worms and get my worm bin going again. Compost is a key, essential thing to have when you're gardening. If you can make your own compost, you're making money, because compost is expensive. It's hard to find a lot of times. Really good compost that you can trust, where the materials hasn't been sprayed with anything and it's all organic and natural, it's hard to find, and it's expensive when you do find it. So if you can make your own compost, then you're really saving money. So after we add the compost to our rows, then we come back and add a layer of hay, and we use coastal Bermuda hay because it doesn't have those weed seeds in it. And we lay that hay down in the pathways in between the rows. This is just really helping to keep down weeds in the garden beds. Then after we plant into our rows, then I like to come back and add a little mulch around all of the plants on those rows, just to help with weed control as well. What I'm doing right now is hand weeding the ends of the beds where I have perennials planted. So right in this area, I have Jerusalem artichoke, echinacea, blanket flower, yarrow, hyssop. I have a lot of different perennials right on the ends of my beds. I always like to do that. I like to add perennials, herbs, and flowers to the ends of my beds. So where there's perennials, I don't want to lay the weed tarp on that, because I don't want to kill those. I want those to continue coming back, multiplying, spreading, and growing, and coming back every year. If I laid the weed tarp over it, it would kill them. So in these areas on the ends of the beds where I have the perennials, then I have to just come in and hand weed, pull the weeds, hen bit, all of the different weeds out of this area by hand. And then all throughout the growing season, I have that thick layer of hay in my pathways between my rows. I have the mulch on my rows where my plants are. I have mulch in my areas where my perennials, flowers, and herbs are growing. And that really, really helps with weed control, and it helps to hold moisture in to that soil, to the roots of those plants. And then what I try my very best to do all throughout the seasons is to go through one bed at a time and just pull any weeds that I see starting to come up. And if you're able to stay on top of it, then it's pretty easy to maintain like that. We got the beds ready, and now we're going to plant these potatoes. We got Yukon Gold, and who is that one? Kennebec and Red Norland. And these have been sitting for about a week or so, going through the chitting process.
Hey, watch your mouth.
And then we cut and let them cure. So now we got our bed ready. We're gonna plant some potatoes. We're gonna try growing some potatoes in buckets too. And this is how we're definitely gonna be growing our sweet potatoes this year, because the past 3 years, our sweet potatoes have had wireworms. Had some extra potatoes, so we thought we'd try this too with the white, red, and yellow potatoes. We're not filling the buckets up, and we'll just put our potatoes here, and then as they get foliage on them, we'll add some soil on top, and we'll keep doing that.
How come you're not planting potatoes, champ?
We went into winter with 8 hives, and we only lost one. We lost it to wax moths, so now we have 7 hives. And we always leave plenty of honey supers on them for them to be able to get through the winter and have food through the winter. And then early spring, beekeepers are usually feeding their bees sugar water, because they're active. It's warm enough that they're out, they're active, they're foraging, but there's not a lot of things in bloom yet. So beekeepers usually at this time are feeding their bees sugar water. We've only had to do that like 1 year, and I don't think we really had to do it. We just did it because everybody else was doing it. But the bees there is so much here natively that the bees have so much to forage on, and they have the creek. There's so many different things that are blooming, like red maples. We got tons of henbit, all kinds of things. The kiss me at the gates are just bursting with blooms right now.
Laurel tree back there is covered too.
Yeah, we have this old cherry laurel, I think's what it is, and it's full of blooms that the honeybees love. So they have a whole lot to forage on here, and we don't feed them sugar water. And they have 1 honey super box on every hive right now that was left through the winter. Well, they've already eat through that and filled them back up. And today we're adding another honey super to all 7 hives. So I'm super excited. Last year we did not have a good honey harvest. We had about 1/4 of what we usually get. And I think this year we're gonna have a successful honey harvest, don't you? I think we're gonna have to harvest twice this year, so I'm excited about that. So right now we're taking these honey supers over and adding them to our hives.
Here's a wasp.
The orchard addition to the potager garden is coming along beautifully. This is the fruit border of apple trees that we're starting right here, and eventually we will espalier these fruit trees. We are laying it out and designing it, and we're planting 5 apple trees: Gala, Fuji, Ginger Gold, Yates, and Arkansas Black. I'm super excited for this to be happening. I've been dreaming of adding this fruit border in addition to the potager garden, and today we planted our first fruits of the fruit border. February the 23rd was my birthday, and I received a sweet message from a very dear friend saying I had a birthday surprise at Petals from the Past. I needed to go by and pick it up. Well, I had gone to my mother's to spend my birthday with my mom and brother and sister-in-law and nephew. My mom gave me a little birthday money, so on my way home from her house, I stopped by Petals from the Past, and I used her birthday money to buy a couple more fruit trees for this fruit border, and I picked up my sweet surprise. Hey y'all, I'm at Petals from the Past. I got a phone call the other night saying I had a gift here from a sweet follower of ours who has become a wonderful friend. Her name is Phyllis Cap, and she bought me a satsuma tree for my birthday. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be an awesome addition to my new citrus collection, and I'm just so grateful for you, Phyllis. Thank you so much for my sweet birthday gift. Thank you for becoming a precious friend of ours. That is the beauty of having this YouTube channel, is we've become friends with so many of y'all, and some of you we've never even met, but you just hold a special place in our heart, and I'm just so grateful for every one of you. Thank you, Phyllis. So while I'm here, I also picked up 2 Fuyu persimmon trees, which is an oriental persimmon, and it is a non-astringent. So it's not the native persimmon that just makes your tongue turn inside out. It is a delicious persimmon. It's almost like eating an apple, and it has like this clove flavor to it. Really, really good. When I returned home, Jean and I planted the 2 oriental persimmon trees in the fruit border. Now, I only got 2 because I'm pretty sure that's all we're going to need. One fruit tree can produce up to 150 fruits per tree per season. So I believe this is going to be plenty of persimmons for our family. I'm also going to be adding 2 Asian pears to the other side of the fruit border, and then we'll be espaliering all of these fruit trees, the pears, the apples, and the persimmons. We still have a lot to do to complete this new orchard edition. We still have to get more compost and mulch to finish out the berms. We need to get the pears to plant on the other side, and we're going to do muscadines and kiwi, and we've got to build the fence, the trellises around it to espalier the fruit on. So there's still a lot to do to this edition, but I'm super excited about the progress that we've made. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. God bless you.
Just dig it.
See you on the next video.